Right now, Porsha Williams, aka Pusha P, is the Bravo princess. We just got off the heels of the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 17 reunion. Right now we're in the midst of, Ultimate Girls Trip 20th anniversary. And we also know that Porsha is on Traders because she inked an overall deal with NBC Universal. One thing that I do think is important to note is that Porsha rising out of the ashes like a phoenix. It could not happen if the big three were not moved out the way. And so when I say the big three, one, Nene, as we all know, Nene in Bravo, they were in a lawsuit, so of course they're not gonna have her on the show. Kandi, she stepped away. And lastly, as we know, in season 16, Kenya, I'll say it like this, Kenya was basically kicked off, and we're not gonna get into all that, but with Nene, Kandi, and Kenya not being active participants on the Real Housewives of Atlanta at this time, this has all created room for the perfect storm called Porsha Williams. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Simone and you're sipping with Simone. Today I want to talk about how Porsha's behavior on Porsha's Family Matters helped me see the real Porsha, okay? Now, this video actually was inspired by a thread post. A user posted something saying like, is there a housewife that you didn't like then that you like now? And I responded, basically, it's the opposite for me. Listen to me when I tell you this part. I used to love Porsha down, right? However, when Porsha Family Matters came out, I saw a different side of Porsha, okay? So that is what inspired this video. I also made a TikTok about it, and y'all been fighting me in my comments. And I could say this, if you have watched this show, then you could see her true colors. And two, I was so taken aback by her behavior. I wrote about it in my graduate thesis, and I put her under the angry black woman because the behavior that she displayed on that show was disgusting. And I'm surprised that y'all haven't caught on to who she is. But anyway, let's get into this video. At the beginning, when Porsha first came onto our screens on Real Housewives of Atlanta, she was a housewife, submissive, doing all the things for Cordell, right? She was pretty, she was bubbly, she was ditzy, which can be funny, but I do think she leaned into that dumb blonde too much, but whatever. Yeah, on the show we saw Cordell divorce her while they was living in the same house. So we seen her essentially go from being married to being divorced and being embraced by their other women. I think this is important because, like I said at the beginning, which was one of Porsha's taglines, like the phoenix, she rose from the ashes. I loved seeing her transform between all of the roles that she went through. From the married woman, it was fun seeing her be a single woman, to, getting with Dennis. I did not like when he cheated on her, but I loved when she became a mom. So seeing Porsha in all of these phases, it really made me like her. Part of the reason why we have these strong connections to, in this case, a reality star, but just in general with celebrities, is because of the halo effect. Porsha is very gorgeous. Like, she's breathtakingly gorgeous, right? Combined with her fun personality, I do think it's hard for people to kind of see the mean girl that lives within, okay? Just so we're clear on what a halo effect is, the halo effect is when somebody's positive attributes, so in Porsha's case, her beauty, her personality, her charm, it overrides all her negative traits, her meanness, her ability to disassociate and divide. Yeah, you don't see those because you're blinded by the beauty. So up until this show, like most of the fans, or really all of the fans, I had this image built up of Porsha. So of course when it came out, I was like, oh, we're gonna see her with her family. How fun. Good for Porsha. She got a spinoff. Keep a check. You know, she a mama. And you know, we love a mama getting a check. Okay. And I was also curious about her relationship with the people closest to her, especially in this aspect. You know, Porsha Family Matters was where she was trying to bring the family together because she was engaged to Simon. So I wanted to see how that blend was going to play out. And instead of it being a warm, I didn't think it was going to be a 100% warm show just because of the context. Like, you are engaged to a man who was married while you was dating him and you trying to blend him with the family. But I did not think it would go down the way it did. So this was the first crack, and it really had me side-eyeing Porsha like, girl, you really not as dumb as you want people to believe. And not that I thought Porsha was ever dumb. I just thought that, you know, she played into the ditzy blonde character a lot more than she actually should have. But really, I think she did it because it allows her to negate some of the responsibility that she has as a person. So I think Porsha has a control problem, right? Porsha is the leader of her family. A few members of her family were on her payroll. You know, her and her sister Lauren worked together. Lundy also worked for Porsha. And I feel like Porsha used this as a way to, you know, ensure that her family will never be on the opposite side. Think about it. You can't tell your boss what you're going to do. You don't really give your boss your full opinion of them. You just kind of go with the flow. Now, in the show, Lauren did say she quit working for Porsha because, you know, she just couldn't deal with it. And she actually fired Lundy because there was an incident where baby oil wasted on Porscha's Chanel bag. Her lambskin Chanel bag. So Porsha just went ahead and fired her. Also, with Porsha being the financial leader of her family, even though her last name is Williams and her grandfather was a part of the civil rights movement, he was an activist, she is the one with the platform, right? So all this attention, you know, will be on Porsha's family. And it's kind of like, if somebody, and even Lauren explained this in the show, she's Porsha's sister. If she's constantly getting hate online, then as her sister, you're not going to go and add to that. You're going to tell her what she wants to hear so she can kind of, you know, calm down and understand, like, the family's opinion is what matters the most. Another instance of control that we saw from Porsha in this show was literally the next morning after she tried to fight Dennis' mama and Dennis. So we learned that she sent text messages to everybody telling them not to speak about what happened the night before. In my opinion, one, you shouldn't do that because it ruins the show. We saw this on the show, so we want to know what happened. Instead of letting her family talk about how they feel, Porsha jumped ahead of the narrative and basically, you know, shut it down. Now, granted, I know an argument would be like, oh, she's trying to do damage control. No, she's trying to control the narrative. And I feel like if you're willing to go that far to kind of control your family, what does that say about you as a person? And what does it say when your family abides by what you say? It shows that you are the controlling leader of the family. So also in Porsha Family Matters, I noticed that she created division on two separate instances. So I want to say maybe episode 3, they have her birthday dinner. All of her family is there. Dennis and his mom, they come. Simon is there as well. So her family starts talking about, oh, Simon, blah, 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 you're so great, and like big up in Simon while Dennis is there. I feel like this kind of creates division between Simon and Dennis, just because Porsha said her end goal was to blend her family and to get everybody on the same page as Pilar. So to me, it's like, why would you allow your family to do that? And from Dennis' mom, I feel like that was kind of Dennis's mom's perspective, which is why she started, you know, piping up for Dennis, even though he's a grown man. And let me state this clearly. I am not in agreement that they should have worked things out when he cheated on Porsha while she was pregnant. That was low, and I think Porsha does deserve to be a little bit petty, but according to her, she's trying to blend her family. So creating division between your baby daddy and your fiance, to me, is not the move. The second instance of division, Lundy and Storm, they got into an argument at dinner. Storm starts piping up, going back and forth with Lundy, and instead of Porsha trying to diffuse the situation, she automatically took Storm's side. Now, when Lundy brings this up to her, she tells her, oh, I was just taking Storm's side because she was sitting next to me. No, if these are your cousins, you are, as you like to say, the glue of your family. Everyone's on this trip because of you. I think she should have stepped into a role of like, okay, everybody, let's calm down. Let's take a break and let's really figure out what the real issue is. Another trait that Porsha has, that a lot of people have, is this woman is so passive aggressive. It makes no sense. Me personally, I'm very direct. I can't stand passive aggressiveness. Say it with your chest or don't say it at all. At a dinner in Mexico, Porsha finds out that Dennis has brought his work to Mexico for her birthday. So he was trying to kill two birds with one stone. Instead of, you know, confronting him about it, she ends up fighting with him and his mama, having to be restrained. It was just really an embarrassing scene. And I think really with Porsha, if she would have confronted Dennis about this, I don't know how it would have turned out. But we know that she has a history of being violent. So her outburst was not shocked. See her demonstrate this behavior when they got back to Atlanta. She went out to dinner with Lundy, and you know, Lundy was just trying to tell her how she feels about certain things, and Porsha, she got up, got mad, saying which, you know, it hurt Lundy's feelings, so she was crying. But this ties into the behavior of passive aggressiveness. And when she doesn't really want to deal with something, she deflects. Now, ultimately, when she went out to dinner with Lundy or lunch with Lundy, she did come back because Lundy was crying. And I think she did that to save face with the viewers, because I don't think she was expecting Lundy to cry. Now, I know this video, to people who don't think deeply, may be a Porsha hater video. So let me say this, and let me be clear. This is not a Porsha hate video, but I do want to give her these few things just to make y'all happy, and for y'all to understand that I am not hating on Porsha. I think that Porsha is very pretty, and I think she is very charming. I just want her to be a nice lady and not a mean girl. Like, man, this is not high school. You a grown woman. Now, I know y'all's favorite rebuttal is, it's the editing. It's the editing. Okay. Why is this the pieces that she's given to be edited? We cannot edit around a mean girl personality. It is what it is. Like, so please don't get in the comments saying that, because I know y'all love to say that. These are patterns that Porsha has demonstrated, not only through Real Housewives of Atlanta, but on her own personal family show, Porsha's Family Matters. So I want us all to question, is this, well, not question, I want us to think deeply about this. Is this Porsha's true identity slipping through the cracks? Or is this just editing? If these are the edits that she's getting, then what is she giving them to make her show up in a bad light? Or is it that we've created these parasocial relationship with these stars, specifically Porsha, that we have to defend her because we see ourselves in her? Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.